DSWP Disciple checking in. So I'm in my latest get rich slow scheme as concierge to the airport. In this case, Logan, our big airport here in Massachusetts. Of course, in Western Mass, the airport that we use is Bradley, which is just into Connecticut, like maybe 22 minutes south of Springfield and Windsor. So basically between Springfield and Hartford. But yeah, I just dropped off 3 delightful people. Just recently retired. One's is a oil painter. The other one's quite active in terms of politics and the gay community, even though apparently she's not gay herself. I kind of slipped up. They were talking about a person that they knew who was intersex, I guess is the word. I thought that I was up on all of the woke terminology, right? Woke in quotation marks, like I'm a boomer. I didn't realize that intersex was like the politically correct name for hermaphrodite, and I mistakenly used the word, like obviously not trying to be pejorative or mean or anything like that. And she was like, "Oh, that's the old word for intersex." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't," because she'd used it in the conversation, and for some reason, my brain hears one thing but it thinks another. So I'm thinking like intersectionality, where you're several different things that intersect, such as maybe like woman, queer, whatever, and black or something like that. But she said intersex, I guess, which is, if you have two, both genders, sexual organs, whatever. So, you learn something new every day. Of course, if I were on the right, I would say, I don't care. Keep changing these words. Hermaphrodite, damn it. But anyway, that's not what this is about. This is just a lively chat. So again, as if I didn't have enough jobs, my main job is in finance, working as a software trainer / advisor in wealth management. Talk about getting rich slow. And, I moonlight obviously as I shouldn't say obviously, but those of you that know me for many years now, like almost 25 years, I've worked in an optical lab, the last 14 with a license in Massachusetts as an optician. And this would be my third job to kind of make up the stagger while I'm serving penance out of law school. I took today off so I get double paid. I'm getting PTO. My main job, and then I'm doing a solid for my buddy, call him L, as where he kind of overbooked and didn't have enough drivers to give these lovely people a ride. They're actually going to Norway, to the Arctic Circle, for any number of adventures, I guess, that they were giving me the story. Of course, we had a lot of time together, a better part of 2.5 hours, because we ran into some traffic going from Granby, Connecticut. So Granby is one of those towns. There's a Granby in Connecticut and there's a Granby in Massachusetts. Different towns, I believe. It's not like Kansas City where it borders Missouri and Kansas, so it serves both states. 2 distinct towns, but I remember Granby, Connecticut. I'm pretty sure my chess teacher or chess instructor back in high school, that's where he lived, who didn't like me too much. Call him Mr. F. I wonder what he's up to these days. He was the music teacher at my high school, but also the chess instructor. Of course, I was on the chess team, and my senior year got kicked off the team for, I don't know, I guess maybe underperformance, maybe. There was no behavioral issues or anything like that, but I guess my board wasn't performing. Even as I had the most wins on the team my junior year, but what have you done for me lately? But anyway, this is the rental. If I had my druthers to maybe preserve more margin, I would have just taken the RAV4, but with 3 people and a good deal of luggage, it probably made sense to rent a vehicle. And here it is, the 2025 Ford Explorer. So as you can tell, you can see some little bit of panel gap over there, but by American standards, pretty decent. Actually, a fairly substantial panel gap over there. But by American standards, let me feel the material. Barely soft touch. Up here, little injection molded, whatever. Soft enough. It's not, certainly not an Audi, but it's all right. It's decent. And then these kind of nice like cloth inlays right here over the hard plastic that are pretty nice. You can see it has it in the upper part of the seat. You can see captain chairs going back there. I always wondered, why do we have solar panels out here on the Mass Pike? But I'm sure there's a reason. Oh, let me be careful here. So actually that brings me to another feature. So as you can see, I'm quite far away from that Hyundai Elantra, like far enough I should say, not quite far. But I learned this on the trip. Thank God I didn't do it while I was driving because it scared the bejesus out of me. So if you bottom out on the pedal, it automatically will trigger the collision avoidance like safety mechanism. So it doesn't matter if there's something in front of you or not. So I've learned to just kind of like easily modulate the brake pedal. And there's a couple times where like, I stopped normal distance, but I guess I have a bad habit, I suppose, of bottoming it out. Like as I progressively, like, it's a nice easy stop, but see, I get within like a car length and a half of this Hyundai, and if I bottom out, there's gonna be like a big like red sign on this display, and it's just going to like abruptly, like basically it's gonna like lock up all four brakes. So can you imagine if you're riding with somebody and part of what you're paying for obviously is the ride and you don't want to get into an accident, but it's also not to scare the shit out of people while you're driving with them, because you can imagine it's one thing through the seat of the pants while you're driving in the driver's seat. It's another thing if you're in, and I'll kind of pan to the back. The third row is down because we had luggage all back there, but it has like two captain's chairs. I don't know if you can see it in the second row. And can you imagine like being the passenger and it just kind of like you jerk forward, like even if you weren't even close to being in an accident, they're paying for the luxury of not driving and having a nice easy ride. So I felt that pressure a bit, because like as a driver, like when you're driving by yourself, you just kind of like, I'm just trying to get there. You're not necessarily focused on smoothness or anything like that. But when you're riding with someone, you're focused on the smoothness, and of course the Apple CarPlay kind of froze up, so I had to, certain parts of the drive, like once you get on the Mass Pike it's just a straight shot, but on certain parts of the drive I had to kind of feel it out and actually pay attention, and not just autopilot it, in addition to like the other touchy-feely stuff, like actually engaging them in conversation and not just sitting here like an invertebrate, just pressing the gas and the brake pedal. But it was cool. We had a nice easy conversation, even for the roughly 2.5 hours. A lot of shared interest. It helps that our politics are the same, and it seems like they like cars a little bit, so like we were able to talk about that, and then like travel, and I'm a bit of like it's funny how things kind of morph and change to adapt to, I guess, modernity, right? When I was younger, I used to in my downtime even, I'd just be in a library just reading random books, a lot of times encyclopedias and stuff. That's why I have like a broad base of just general knowledge. Of course, in modern times, you wouldn't necessarily do that in the library. You would just kind of watch, random documentaries on YouTube, or pull up random articles off, Google or whatever, which is what I do now. So I guess in a lot of ways I've just stayed the same person. I just aged, that's all. And so we had like a lot to talk about, and it sounds like they're kind of into like some of the same things too, in a sense. Now I picked them up in Granby, and through a lot of the ride was through Westfield, which is an area that I don't really go to much. I remember a couple years ago when I was getting my motorcycle license, that's where I had my motorcycle lessons for 2 days out there, and it's big. It might even be geographically similar in size to Springfield. It's just that it's country, so the house is really spread out, the population's much smaller. But in terms of like just sprawl, I almost said urban sprawl, but it's not urban sprawl, it's just sprawl. And few interesting cars. I saw somebody with like a really nice condition, like probably 1990 Volvo 740 wagon. I'm sure it's automatic, but even that's desirable, and it was like rear wheel drive. If I were not on a schedule, I probably would have stopped and put a sign on it, like, are you selling or whatever. But that's where you find the barn finds, so to speak. And there were plenty of barns and farmland out there too. That's where you find really interesting cars for, like, people that they don't necessarily want to go on like Auto Trader or sell it to CarMax or wherever, and it's just kind of there. They don't even necessarily really need the money immediately, and it's just there, not necessarily up for sale, but kind of. And you just you knock on doors figuratively, and that's how you stumble upon a really nice find. But I was on a schedule. It's not like I necessarily need a new car, or a third car, I should say. As you know, I'm considering buying back the TL from my buddy N out in Utah. I don't know though, because I don't know if I'm really accomplishing anything. I'm still low key searching for a sports car, but I really can't find anything. I think I've just about exhausted all my friends who are talking about cars. One of my buddies, I call him C, just a moment ago, as I was heading back, as I just dropped him off at Logan, where probably at this point maybe like 18 miles into the trek back, and he sent me like a link to a 2021 mini like Cooper Works GP. Interesting car. They're rare, so they're expensive. It's like $38. So for what it is, for a front-wheel drive car, it's a lot of money. But it was automatic. Its real selling point is that they are very tossable and they're rare, so which hence will make it collectible down the road. But automatic, yuck. For especially for a small car, it's got to be manual. Heart's in the right place, but like not for me. And not to mention, I think they produce good power. I think like in the area maybe like 240. I want to say it's the same motor that's in my BMW 228. Of course, BMW owns Mini, or at least they used to. I think they still do. So I don't think I'd be accomplishing anything aside from the quasi collectability. I don't think I'd really be accomplishing anything. So I was like, no. So that's kind of like where I'm at in the search process. There's not a whole lot more out there unless I just kind of change perspective. You know how they say life isn't about like what happens to you, but how you react to it? That's kind of where I'm at now in the process. Let me open a window. I turned off the AC to save a little fuel economy because I gotta gas it up before I drop it off. Of course, a vehicle this size, which has probably got to weigh probably around 5,000 pounds, give or take. So maybe I'll roll up one window. Yeah, I'm at the point of kind of like preserving the back end margin. I'm sure I have to like reimburse my buddy L. He's like the owner of this. We'll call it L's Rides. And he's the one that put me on. I think my take home from this whole endeavor will probably be around $200, which is fine. A little more work than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more like 4.5 to 5 hours of work. It was more like 6, which is fine. I use this as like my dresser drawer money added to my emergency fund. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so these are expensive though. Like, I mean, I'm sure that this is like the livery spec, right? So there's no sunroof, which for me is like that's a sin for a big SUV. I mean, it might be considered a full-size SUV. I feel like interior-wise, it's not much smaller than like a Tahoe or something like that, like almost the size of a Suburban. But I know it's outside about one size smaller, but certainly quite a bit larger than my RAV4, which would be, I think, a compact SUV or CUV. But it was still $48,000, so these things are still expensive. I realize that $48,000 isn't really $48,000 anymore, but I don't know, it sounds like a lot of money to me. And like I said, it has the EcoBoost 4. They're nice looking enough. It's funny because even though it's like a new vehicle, I mean, it has a fair amount of miles for a rental. What is it, like 32,476? Of course, rentals are driven a lot in the 2 years that companies usually have them. So this is a 2025, so they're probably about ready to turn this over for a 2027 in the fall, I'd imagine. Still feels solid, no squeaks and rattles or anything like that. But it's funny, even by the seat of the pants, you can feel the difference in quality compared to, like, I guess what will be the competition for this, like a Highlander. I'm not sure if this is body on frame. It feels like it, but it's probably not. It's probably a unit body. A fair amount of body roll as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I saw the police. course, these are like, crowd sharing information, much like Waze, Google Maps. But the down the road feel is fine. I don't necessarily want for more power, but you might as well get the V6 in this because I checked the fuel economy. I think the EcoBoost 4 is only like 2 miles per gallon better. I think it's like 1826 or something like that, and the V6 I want to say is like 17 or maybe 16 city, and like 25 highway, something like that. It's like very similar, basically the same. I'm sure the magic or the superpower of the 4-cylinder is if you can keep your foot out of the turbo and just drive it gingerly, you can probably get up close to 30 miles per gallon. I think right now mixed driving I'm at 21.1. Of course, there was like a lot of like stop and go at certain parts. I'm not sure how I got it with a full tank. I'm not sure how the person before me drove. I mean, for a vehicle this size, 21.1 is fine. That's tolerable. My RAV4, I swear, only gets like 20, maybe 21 at the best. But I'd say not more often than not, but often enough. I feel like I'm in like the 18, 19 range. So it's not great on gas. Not the worst thing, but for a vehicle that only weighs probably like 3,700 pounds, I would like it more like 22 or so. Of course, a buddy of mine, call him A, he just bought his daughter like a 2022, I think, GMC Terrain. That's that first world living right there, right? My first car was an 84 Mercury Lynx, and I had to buy it myself. I had to pay for my driving lessons myself. My mom's like, I ain't got it. Different situations, though. My boy A is like at a prominent position at the previous financial company I used to work at. So, and of course, just in general, raising boys and girls, they're just raised differently anyway. With guys, you'll kind of turn them loose and tell them, like, land on your feet, figure it out type of thing. But he said that was kind of her reward for, like, getting good grades in high school, and she didn't go to school out of state, and stayed with the nursing program at one of the state schools in Connecticut. So he saved money that way, so he's like, it's fine. It kind of rewarded her. But yeah, I wish I had a shot. I mean, I'm gonna be done with this video well before I end here. We have 60 more miles. I wish while I stopped I kind of gave you like an outside view, but you know what the Explorer looks like. It's a known quantity at this point. Just kind of wanted to give you like an overview. What I will say is, so the leather seats, I think these are leather. I have to look at the right there's like the build sheet and the window sticker. Very plasticky leather. My RAV4, the quality of leather is like, compared to this, like that stiff German leather, like high quality. My RAV4 is approaching 117,000 miles, and to me the leather is like a good bit better, like higher quality even now than these in basically a new car. This I wouldn't be surprised if this quote unquote leather was like some type of like soft tex or plastic or something like that, or vinyl or something like that. I only have one hand, so I can't really turn this around or open it, or maybe I can. We're going slow enough, but what I'm actually worried about as much as anything is the aggressive like collision avoidance system. So we're just gonna have to make this work. Maybe I'll just do one of these. No, that doesn't really work too well. If I can get my hand to the center, and then you can view it. All right, this is not working out so well. Or maybe I'm just not dexterous, right? I haven't reached a point where where I shake or anything. All right, that's not too bad. I think you can see that. You can see the price down there, like $48,440, and some of the niceties or amenities. I think you can get a close enough view. So it's pretty well appointed, but of course, it is an American thing to have like these weird like luxuries and then missing obvious things. To me, that's a sin not to have a sunroof. I know that some car guys don't like sunroofs on like their sports cars or sports sedans, but there's no reason for a big